Sometimes hard to tell if we're live, but I think it's on. Hi, my name's Eric Wilkinson. Welcome to Pro Trader Strategy, and this is Spotting the Trade. For some of you folks that are new, what I like to do is talk about the economic data, see how that's impacting the markets, and then talk about some option strategies that I'm implementing into my portfolio based on all of the ancillary things that I talk about when implementing options. So please pay attention to that in the webinars and a little bit here in these videos. So if that's something that interests you, please smash that subscribe button, and right next to it there's a little bell that'll give you an indication as to when I'm coming in, even if it's unannounced. So please make sure that that subscribe button and the bell is clicked. All right, and comment throughout this. As Jared wants us to talk about a couple of stocks. We'll take a look at that as well as we go along here. At first, though, I want to talk about the economic data. We didn't get anything really later on in the afternoon yesterday, but here in the United States, we got a couple of economic points that we want to really look at, and that was in core retail sales. Remember, we're going to strip out automobiles. That's been the real dragger on retail sales anyway. The core retail sales are with the automobiles stripped out. So that comes in at 1.7%, expected to be 1%. So really much better than expected on that number. Then you add back in autos. We've even seen some of the automakers come in and say that they've done pretty well, despite the fact that if you go to a dealership, there are cars that they're parking the cars to make it seem like they're full, and they really aren't. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, retail sales, 1.7%, expected to be 1.3%, and they did revise that last month's number up, just albeit slightly. Importer prices did raise a little bit, coming in at 1.2% there. All right, so let's get on with the economic data. Let's get on with the charts. We've got the Nasdaq coming off a little bit. Now, I talked about this yesterday, this topping pattern, spinning top. It's not at the top of a move. This is more of indicative of a topping pattern, but we're still getting that near this move, and we could start to see this start to roll over. It's going to need to settle below this 16,150, which we're just toggling above right now. Then take a look at crude oil. Something I forgot to pull up here and get my charts ready. Crude oil is giving us a continuation pattern here. Anytime we start getting these same type of dojis lining up next to each other, it really is indicative of a continuation. And I think that the bearishness in this market is really going to seep in. We're going to at least need to test $76, $77 for this really to create newer lows and newer lower highs. So keeping our eyes off of that. And then let's just go to the Dow Jones. I don't know where all my charts are right now. / Dow Jones Industrial Average. Again, this is a continuation pattern like I talked about with the Nasdaq, but this is a continuation pattern with a bullish move happening. So who's going to win? Is it going to be the bears in the Dow Jones, or is it going to be the bulls in the Dow Jones and the bears in the Nasdaq? That's what I've been calling for quite some time. I think that the Nasdaq with those tech stocks in it is going to be something that's going to be a little bit weaker. Here we're seeing the Bitcoin coming off quite a bit, surprisingly, because I thought that we were going to see more of an upward trajectory with inflation kind of backing this whole economy right now. As we can see, gold is holding on to those levels. Something I'm going to keep an eye on here for today is trying to get out of my TLT. Let me pull this chart over here. Something that we were talking about with this trade in the setup, we got in on the spinning top confirmation and then selling some calls against that is what I was talking about. And this is for the bond protection. I'm going to be doing a couple of videos here really shortly where next year it's really gearing up for a rising interest rate environment. I think that that's when we're going to start seeing the interest rates start to creep up. That's when we need to start getting ahead of it. Well, actually, right now is when we should start getting ahead of it. And that's doing some covered calls against some TLT and things like that. Really just trying to hedge that overall bond portfolio that we have. So we talked about selling some calls in TLT to try and generate some income to make up, lower our overall cost basis on the bonds that we own in our portfolio. And therefore, we can get ahead of this before the interest rates start rising. I'll show you how rising interest rates can really decimate an overall portfolio. But with this said, I did sell the 155 calls in here and trying to get out of those as we speak. I think they were the 155 calls. Let me just double check to make sure. I have them pulled up here somewhere. It's buried behind everything. Sorry, guys, bear with me. It's 152 calls in there. That was that's right. 152 calls was just above this area here, and then the collection of $1.25 gets my break even well above that area. So looking to get out of this, but the Johnson & Johnson is something I want to talk about because they had earnings. I don't think anything special is going to come out right now, and it's right at the point of control. That's where the time and volume has been spent. That's where folks feel value is created or discerned for Johnson & Johnson, and that's why I want to try and throw in a strangle around this. So I'm looking at this strangle. It's pretty wide, really, but for Johnson & Johnson, I was looking at like the 150s on the downside and the 175s to the upside for this strangle. The 175s to the upside might be a little bit thin on the pricing there. Let me just double check. What do I got working here? I'm looking at the 175, 150 strangle in there. The 175 is a little bit further away, but I am a little bit more concerned about this 175. I want some resistance above with this value area high there. And as you can see, the 150s to the downside is well below this area on this support. I probably should throw up some new Fibonacci's, but they've acted as support and resistance before. So probably just some extensions on there. That's what I'll look for, but looking for this market to settle down right here around the point of control. So looking to sell the 150, 175 strangle in there. All right. So a little bit before the market opens here, but that's what I'm going to be looking to work to get into a trade for today. So wanted to let you guys know before we get on that. And then a couple other ones that some of you folks were asking about was AQST, which is a stock that I've never really looked at. Therapeutics, though, in line with Merck. This has had pretty negative earnings for the most part, and I have not traded any options around this. Let's just see what the options look like in here. They really don't have any options whatsoever. Pretty decent markets for, it's actually, that's a lie. These are terrible markets. It's a $6 stock. So I'd probably stay away from this. If I were going to play this to the upside, I would not be using options. I would be using this as a just a buy the stock type of trade there because of the value of it and the fact that there's no earnings on it. I'd probably play something like Merck because it has the options. Now, if you wanted to play this off of the other trade, we've seen a lot of that with therapeutics, especially in the biotech industry around the COVID. Anybody comes up with some kind of drug, it's going to affect the other folks in that space. But what is it? Questive Therapeutics, Questive. Anyway, I'd probably just go out there and buy that if I were to take a flyer on something like this. AQST, SAQ. Okay, fingers work today. There we go. All right, so I'd probably, if I wanted to play this as a bullish move, I'd probably buy some stock in this rather than messing around with the options. There's just nothing really there. And that's all I got for you folks. Make sure you guys subscribe, smash that like button, feed those bots, and comment. Like I said, I will circle back around for you folks that are commenting. Jared was throwing this out there about these therapeutics, so I wanted to cover them for you and talk about what I would look at for something like this. If I were bullish, I would be looking to buy this stock. I would not be looking to mess around with the options here. All right, that's about it. All right, if you can't take that, take it easy.